Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Good morning. They are the no-deal warnings the government would probably prefer to keep secret, but Sky News can reveal the Border Force's predictions for the UK's security and transport. The documents describe an increase in organised crime, confusion for immigration officials and disruption for passengers. One senior MP said the impact would be a disaster for the UK and result in a loss of data sharing and intelligence, while security experts said criminals and smugglers would be rubbing their hands together in anticipation. Our political editor, Faisal Islam, reports.
9.5 weeks until Brexit Day, and the government's secret plans reveal remarkable changes on what it refers to as Day One No Deal. The leaked Border Force document obtained by Sky News, not shown to MPs or the public until now, reveals the assumptions government is making about the impact and disruption for freight, for travellers and for those combating organised crime and illegal migration. The 20-page document on no deal Brexit assumptions says leaving the EU without a deal would lead to border confusion and delay that may lead to an increase in organised crime activity and an additional clandestine threat. Some frontline operational capability at the border may be impacted by the loss of access to EU systems and data. UK passengers may no longer be able to use e-gates, electronic passport gates in Europe, and be questioned about why they're travelling, so-called intentions checking. This is expected to cause disruption to flight schedules and significant queues. A former police border officer, Chris Hobbs, is already deeply concerned about what happens at the border in a few weeks' time.
There could be Border Force officers taking away from other duties, customs particularly, looking for drugs, looking for weapons. They could be taken away, and they are at the moment, to look at and to deal with queues. So if you're an organised crime network in Europe, you will be looking at Brexit and rubbing your hands with anticipation.
In the document, the Border Force acknowledges a no-deal loss of access to the EU databases the UK relies on for electronic passport criminal checks, being replaced by vastly inferior Interpol databases.
Is Britain ready?
I think this shows real concerns about the implications for our border security in the event of no deal. This suggests our Border Force and all of the support services simply aren't ready to deal with no deal, but also that the work they do would be downgraded. They would be using weaker systems to try and identify criminals crossing the border, weaker systems to try and identify dangerous weapons being shipped across the border. And so I think it raises serious questions about our security at our borders in the event of no deal.
But those MPs suggesting what they call a managed no deal remain unconvinced.
I think it is very convenient for the government that just by accident it happens to leak at this time, and I've been a Member of Parliament for 18 years and these things don't happen by accident.
Today, however, the boss of the civil service did acknowledge some issues.
I've never shied away from the fact that this is a complicated problem. And I've never pretended that, it's all going to go swimmingly well in the event of a no deal, which is just a few days away, or potentially.
The Home Office said it wouldn't comment on leaked documents, but they do show officials already fearing and anticipating scenes such as this across the UK border on what they call D1ND, Day One No Deal. Faisal Islam, Sky News.
Well, in other Brexit developments, the Prime Minister has been warned by the Work and Pensions Secretary Amber Rudd that up to 40 ministers could quit next week unless MPs are allowed to vote for a plan that prevents a no-deal Brexit. MPs have put forward their own plans to rival Theresa May's deal, with Labour submitting an amendment to allow the Commons to vote on whether to hold a second referendum. And the implications of a no-deal Brexit have created cracks in the EU's unity in Ireland, with the European Commission's chief spokesman saying it was obvious that no deal would mean a hard border on the island. Well, in response, the Irish Prime Minister said a new agreement would be needed between Ireland and the UK to avoid checks at the border. Our Ireland correspondent Stephen Murphy reports now from Dublin.
The Irish border, so central to the torturous Brexit negotiations, but shrouded in such uncertainty. The Irish government has always maintained there will be no re-emergence of a hard border here, even in a no-deal scenario. Today, for the first time, its European partner said something completely different.
If you like me to push me and speculate on what might happen in a no-deal scenario in Ireland, I think it's pretty obvious. You will have a hard border.
Those comments are a significant departure. In Dublin, the government scrambled to respond. The Taoiseach, or Prime Minister Leo Varadkar, said that in the event of a no-deal Brexit, Ireland and the UK would have to negotiate an arrangement similar to the controversial backstop, the insurance policy in the withdrawal agreement that seeks to avoid a hard border in Ireland.
So what would we have to do in that scenario? We'd have to negotiate an agreement on customs and regulations that meant full alignment, so there would be no hard border. We already have that agreement, and that is the backstop.
Earlier, the Irish Foreign Minister was defiant, but conceded avoiding a hard border would be difficult without a withdrawal agreement.
So what we're saying is very clear. The Irish government will not support the re-emergence of border infrastructure on this island. We're not planning for it in no-deal Brexit planning. But certainly, if we don't have a withdrawal agreement, it becomes very, very difficult to prevent that.
It's not just here in Dublin where these Brussels remarks have caused consternation today. The DUP, which props up Theresa May's government, has always dismissed the idea of a hard border as EU scaremongering. Its MP Sammy Wilson said today that the remarks from Brussels were belligerent bluffing and that there won't be a hard border. The Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald, meanwhile, seized upon the remarks to call for a referendum on a united Ireland. So for now, the Irish government is sticking to its guns and refusing to contemplate a hard border in a no-deal scenario. But that position has undoubtedly been undermined by Brussels today, and it's caused real unease as the clock ticks on. Stephen Murphy, Sky News in Dublin.